This 2023 Homestead-Miami NASCAR weekend recap edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers where you can win 100x. That's right, turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus up to $500. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bet app or visit hofbets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month and start making smarter bets today. Plus, NBA is back, and so is the NBA Gambling Podcast. To celebrate, we're giving away an NBA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA Dog for all of the details.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Well, then, it is the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Still got to get used to being and hiding those ad things. If you're not watching on YouTube, as we always say every week, you're just missing.
Yeah, at this point, you're missing out.
Yeah, you're missing some of the better parts of my follies. Being, I guess, I don't know, technologically challenged. You figure for as much as I've dealt
For a guy that's been podcasting since before podcasting was a thing.
I swear to God,
Technologically challenged still.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where I just forget what's going on. Dangle keys in front of me, and I basically just become distracted to the point where I'm like, "What? What's going on?" Anyways,
Rod actually had like a real tape recorder back in the day, and he would just like record it and then play it back for his friends and call it a podcast, and then that's where they came up with the term podcast eventually. If you didn't know, a little history lesson for you today.
I mean, you laugh, but I do have cassette tapes back there of me back in the day doing all kinds. I mean, I did everything from reciting Beastie Boys lyrics to putting on full-on shows. I swear to God, I was a podcaster in the 80s and nobody knew what the hell it was.
That's what I'm saying. You were way ahead of your time, my friend.
Feel like that's always been the case. But speaking of being way ahead of anything, man, fantastic racing.
We won some bets this weekend. Oh, yeah, we should talk about that. Oh, my God.
Dude.
What a weekend, Rod. Oh, yes. We cashed in the Truck Series. We cashed in the Xfinity Series. We cashed in the Cup Series. We cashed in F1, depending on what your book rules on disqualifications. Oh, it was a cash-in week. We made some money.
Yes, it was. And not to mention, just the simple fact of the matter is that the races that we talked about this weekend, we handicapped to a freaking T. Like, we had it locked. Now, granted, and listen, I want to apologize, first of all, to Kyle Larson. I want to apologize to any of the other outrights that I called this weekend because my shitty luck has rubbed off on you. So I apologize for that because there were so many of these bets that were cashing for me, especially just bad luck.
It was me too, man. Cole Custer, best car in Xfinity Series, called that out. Absolutely running away with it. Obviously, we'll get into it. Flat tire. Ugh, man, rough.
Yeah, it was definitely rough. So, but overall, again, a good solid weekend of racing. I think an entertaining weekend of racing.
Why is this not the championship weekend, Rod? Can you explain to me, after everything we saw this weekend, how great the racing was in all three series, how close the finishes were? Why are we going to Phoenix to decide a champion, and we're not still going to Homestead-Miami, where the weather is nice, the racing is great? This should be the championship race. Like, this track, it did it for years. I'm still a fan of rotating it, but if we're going to have it in one place like Phoenix right now, why is it not in Homestead with this new package and the way the trucks and Xfinity, the way they race here too? Like, put it back on this track. And sure, you can say then Kyle Larson's going to win 7 championships in a row, but is he, Rod? Because he didn't win this weekend. So
I was going to say anything can happen. It's really any given Sunday. I mean, it really is. And that doesn't go for just football. That goes for any sport that's played on a Sunday. Like you saw flat out Kyle Larson, obviously, and we'll talk about it in a second, that same thing as Cole Custer, right? Best car out there. And one little slip up, one little mistake, doesn't matter if it's coming from you or the field, it takes you out of it. And that's what we're dealing with when we deal with stuff like this. And as frustrating it is, as a betting standpoint, watch that money burn in front of your face. Like, from an entertainment standpoint, that's what we're there for. We're there for the.
Yeah, exactly. And it was entertaining. I mean, all the races were absolutely great. Had you on the edge of your seat. You had cars that dominated, that didn't win the races. You had great battles and close finishes. It was all wonderful.
Yeah, it was. And just like Cody said, a lot of bets cashed for this one as well. So a lot to recap in this. So I say we recap because I say we just get right to the main event. But of course, before we do, let's tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite football team and, of course, drive along with your favorite drivers all season long. Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 and pick 'em Scorchers. Enjoy a spicy 100x payout. And for a limited time, Underdog is extending the first deposit bonus up to $500. $100,000 Sundays continue on Underdog Fantasy. 10 lucky players will win $10,000 each. Of course, if you followed along with most of our Underdog picks, except for the Ross Chastain, yes, JK, I think it was, that called me out on my Ross Chastain. Still pissed about that one. That one did not cash, but we'll do it again this Friday. We'll load it up and give you a bunch of them as well. Hey, and keep an eye out. We may actually be giving you a little bit of a benefit here for signing up for Underdog if you have not already. So watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. Speaking of that, Underdog is giving away, or NBA Podcast is giving away, a free hoodie if you sign up with their code. NBA's back, and to celebrate, they're giving away an NBA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA Dog to submit a screenshot of you playing NBA Underdog using the promo code SGPN, and one random winner's going to get an NBA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA Dog. Again, I say keep an eye out. Might be a little bit of something in there for you as well. A little NASCAR Gambling Podcast hoodie. I'm in the talks with bosses to see if we can't make that happen.
Hey, if the NBA guys can do it, I mean, why can't we do it, right?
Besides, I already got razzed by Moonoff. I put it in our little Slack channel. I said, can we do this for NASCAR as well? And Moonoff shot back, quit stealing all of my ideas. So I told him.
Yeah, but his idea was to give out an NBA podcast, NBA Gambling Podcast hoodie, and yours was to give out a NASCAR podcast hoodie. So it's kind of a different idea.
Apples, oranges, right? That's what I'm saying. I told him to quit having good ideas. That was basically
yeah, that's another way to do it.
That was, if you don't want me to steal them, quit being good. All right, Homestead-Miami.
Oh, they did it on the broadcast. Or it was Jamie Little, right, on the truck race? Yes,
she did.
When she said that, I meant to text you and be like, "Oh, she said it," but I did catch that. That was great. She said Miami Homestead. Obviously, probably was listening to the show all week.
She was.
You tricked her mind and got her to say it the other direction.
Hey, when even the top of the top that do this all the time do that, I feel vindicated in my inability to get this name right. But Homestead-Miami,
Happens to the best of us.
it really does. All three series, but let's of course, as we normally do, start with the Cup Series because it is the freshest on our mind. 267 was the intended target for laps. They hit that because they did not go into overtime. There was a lot of single file, but there's also a lot of movement with that as well. Lots of strategy playing out, which I thought to me was probably the better end of this was the strategy, because obviously there was different plans. There was Denny Hamlin staying out long. There was guys that were coming in with each other. You know, it was a matter of where you wanted to be when everybody else pitted. And for Denny, obviously, that kind of had its own problems. But
it was working for him till the mechanical failure. But
exactly,
yeah, it was. Yeah, there was plenty of strategy throughout the race. Obviously, pit strategy maybe decided the race at the end there because Larson decided to miss the pits and hit the barriers instead.
That was a strategy.
Man, that just again though, like to go back to, he was what, plus 250, plus 275 this week, and it's just another thing on. And sometimes we do go chalky, right? And sometimes we'll give out the favorite, and sometimes it's a short number on a 3-1 on a John Hunter Nemechek or something. But this is why you cannot just bet the favorite each and every week, because things can happen, things can go wrong. And we said the entire week last week, we said it on the betting episode, we said it on the DFS episode, we probably talked about it on the Underdog app. Like, Kyle Larson is going to be the best car, the best driver. He's going to be the fastest. He should easily win this race. But there's always that but there, Rod. Things can go wrong. Things went wrong. He was going to win that race, no doubt about it. As much as, even if he hadn't gained all that on Blaney there, he was going to run him down most likely. But obviously, one little mistake, boom, that's it. And luckily for him, he's already locked into the championship 4. So does it really matter in the grand scheme of the championship race? Not at all. But momentum killer or getting in his head, don't make a mistake, don't fuck this up, could come back to bite him at Phoenix in a couple weeks here. Who knows? But again, that's why you can't just always take the chalky favorite, because more times than not, it doesn't always pay off, it doesn't seem.
No, it does not. But his loss, Christopher Bell's gain, as Christopher Bell ends up winning that one. Now, my question, though, to you, in the whole grand scheme of things, do you think, as fast as Bell was, did he have anything for Larson? Like, would he have had anything for Larson?
Had that gone green from that point, no. Larson would have. It'd have been the Larson and Blaney show, and I think Blaney would have hung with him, but I think Larson would have got him, and as long as he kept it out of the fence, he would have run away with it. I don't think Bell would have got him. I'm trying to remember where Bell was. I don't remember exactly how it all shook out, but I know at one point, I mean, he was complaining about his car. He was like 20th after stage 2, I think. I mean, he was nowhere in the mix. And then late, he ended up in the lead on that restart where Blaney like missed a shift or something happened and took it, and he starts to run off. And then that's when the 15 and John Hunter wrecked. And I'm like, no, because I thought that was the chance. Like, because then they pitted, then he got shuffled back a little bit, and it was like, oh boy. But yeah, I don't think he would have had anything for Larson. I don't think Blaney was probably the only one that maybe had something for Larson, but I think Larson was already gaining on him, and likely, had that been a normal set of circumstances and worked out normally, I think Larson would have got him later on, ended up beating Blaney, but all worked out in our favor, luckily.
It sure did. So, well, then why don't we just start going over these bets and what we ended up coming up good on and what we want to forget.
Yeah, so a lot in this one that I ended up on pretty good here. Starting off, AJ Allmendinger, top 10 finish, plus 450. Only regret here, I should have took a top 5 because AJ Allmendinger, the only driver in the next gen era with 2 top 5 finishes at Homestead-Miami Speedway. So there's a little fun fact for you. Obviously, it's only been the 2 races, but he has finished in the top 5 both times. Finished in 5th place. Again, he'd been good here in the past. He did it last year in this car. That was kind of the thought, and he was running up there at the end. So shout out to him. Plus 450 cashed. Austin Dillon. Oh, Rod, the roller coaster for this. So there were so many, again, rooting for Christopher Bell to hold on to the win, but so many other things going on. And Austin Dillon, top 10, I'll qualify 6th place. This is 5-1. Like, all right, here we go. Running up front all fucking day long. And then the slowest pit stop I've possibly ever been in NASCAR. And it just shoots him all the way to the back, fights his way back, gets up to 11th. I talked about it on the betting episode. He'd finished 11th here 3 or 4 times, I think. The last lap on the last corner gets Kevin Harvick, which kills our other bet. But at 5-1, give me the Austin Dillon all day. So both of these cashed. AJ Allmendinger top 10 plus 450. Austin Dillon top 10 plus 500. What a way to start the day, Rod. And we're just getting going.
And we've told you the value in this particular race and lately has been in these top 10s, top 5 markets, right? That this is where you're finding that value. And a 5-1 would have been better than if Larson would have won the race.
That'd have been twice the odds you got on Larson to win the race. And with that, there's so many things that can go wrong. And even with Dillon, something did go wrong and he still got back to it because it's only a top 10. He only has to beat 26 other guys. He doesn't have to beat every single person. He doesn't have to be the best car. So much value to be found in these top 10s. And again, you got to look for them and you got to find the right price. You got to pick the right drivers at the right places, right? This is a place where Austin Dillon has just been good every time. AJ Allmendinger, it's a smaller sample size, right? I don't think he'd had a start here since 2018 other than last year, but he'd been good in the past. He was good last year. So that felt like a little bit more of a gamble, although that was the safer bet of the two. But yeah, again, that's why we do these top 10s, these top 5s, because there's a lot of value in them. And even if some things go wrong, you can still hit them because it's not just you have to win the race.
Does that mean AJ Allmendinger is still my favorite driver? I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused at this point.
You better hurry up and decide because I think he's only got 2 Cup Series races.
Probably does. All right, my first one was Hamlin on the pole. I picked the wrong JGR driver. But let's just put it that way. I picked the wrong one. Obviously, Truex puts his on the pole. Hamlin 11th. That was just not even. Poor Denny. He was snake bitten from the get-go in this track. So a track he's been so decent on and just terrible day.
Yeah.
Terrible
How about Toyota, though? I mean, shit, you got Truex, Wallace, Reddick, the top 3. Like, Toyota dominated it. Gibbs made it into the top 10 again. Shout out to him. And we'll talk about him in a few, but another good run by Gibbs at another race here. So great to see. But, yeah, you were on the right track, JGR Toyota. Just the wrong one. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of JGR Toyotas, Christopher Bell, top 5, plus 170. Again, Rod, sometimes if you think a guy has the opportunity to win a race, it's good to look at their top 5s, their top 3s, wherever you can find some other value, just in case. Had Ryan Blaney run Christopher Bell down at the end of that, or had, he not been able to get around William Byron there at the end, whatever the case may have been, Christopher Bell was still going to finish inside the top 5. No, it wouldn't have been 15-1 to win, which, would have sucked, but you still would have cashed the plus 170. In this case, obviously we cashed both, hit the plus 170 and you hit the 15-1. But if you think a guy can win and you're getting a good plus money number on his top 3, his top 5, I recommend it so much to go in on it because, and obviously a guy like Larson, not going to be possible this week, right? It was like minus 300, minus 500, even for just top 3s, top 5s, like, so the number has to be right. But if you can get a good number, it's a good way to play the safety net and possibly double dip like we did on this one.
Yes, sir. My next one, I'm pissed. This is why I'm just going to quit. I'm going to quit handicapping altogether. I'm done. You know why? Because I make calls like this, and for 2/3 of the race, they are cashing. They are beautiful. They are everything that I said they were going to be. And then they don't. Brad Keselowski, top 10 car. Brad Keselowski was
damn day. He was
all
a top 10
damn day. Stage 1, stage 2, like literally a top 10 car, and was not ever going to go anywhere outside of that top 10 until lap 220. What was it? 223, I think, is when that lap. The 15.
And he was a part of that caution, right? That was the deal where he pitted early, got stuck lap down, had to take the wave around.
Yep.
And then I think he got damage in that next wreck after that.
Yep. I mean, I'll tell you, it was ridiculous. He got caught up in that wreck where he was with the 15 and the 42 and Chastain. So that took out like not only my Brad Keselowski top 10, but my Ross Chastain better than a 7.5 place finish in the Underdog show too. So that wreck pretty much screwed a couple of my days up, and I'm pretty pissed off about that. That was, I mean, listen, for Keselowski, man, that was a hell of a run he was put on. He even led 16 laps in this race. So that just shows you that sometimes the best handicapping can be right all day, and one thing can turn you off to it. So Brad K did not collect that top 10 finish for us.
Yeah, it's funny because we had, Keselowski, and then we'll get to Harvick in a few, but these were like the lock of the century top 10s, right? And these guys were gonna for sure, and then we hit the 2 long shot top 10s. So I guess one driver's misfortune ends up helping our other bets. So you can take that positive out of it. But yeah, this was a great call. He was obviously really good. I mean, at points looked like he could have a winning car for sure, and obviously just wrong place, wrong time. It happens. Not much you can do about it. And so that's that. Drivers to finish on the lead lap over 20.5. minus 125. What do we end up? I think we ended up with 23. Was that?
I see. I'm looking at 20. Let's see. Yep. Actually,
I know it was over. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, definitely over. It was 23 on the lead lap for sure.
Yeah. So we get the late cautions. Obviously, that helps a lot. But that was part of the strategy, right? Was, hey, look, the way these mile and a halves have been going, they've been going over almost every time. Homestead had gone over a couple of times in a row. And so, yeah, again, thanks for this prop again. And hit another one. Keep giving us these special props because, first of all, they're fun. Second of all, we've been doing pretty good on them.
Well, and this still cashed even with cars 29 through 36 off the track. Like that, that just goes to show you.
Yeah, and you lose a guy like Larson, right? You lose a guy like Hamlin. You lose a guy like Truex. 3 of your best cars, not even in the race at the end, and now they helped create some of those late cautions, which gave guys waiver rounds and lucky dogs and stuff, so that helps as well. But and helps bunch it back up so more people aren't getting lapped. But yeah, still ended up cashing with all that. So again, shout out to Caesars. Thank you for giving us these fun props. Please, please, please keep them coming because I absolutely love it.
Indeed. I had John Hunter Nemechek as a top 10 car. That one did not pan out. Plus, he got wrecked out, so even worse. John Hunter started 24th, was never really a factor throughout the whole thing. And even in pit cycles, didn't really do us any good. I thought he'd run a little better than he did. Unfortunately, he didn't. So this was a long shot that did not cash. But I don't think we've seen the last of him. Obviously, I think we're going to get some good runs out of him later in his Cup career. But today was definitely not one of those days. Sadly.
Yeah, I'm really excited for next year. Obviously, we know what that team is capable of. And Eric Jones, again, to me, he's very comparable to a Joey Logano. Got that chance a little early. Didn't quite pan out at JGR. Go somewhere else. Can still build a good positive career. They're going to go to Toyota next year. Lots of good positives. Obviously, we know how good John Hunter is. Didn't pan out this week, but I think the play was still right. Again, some of that late chaos. He was on the lead lap there at the end, so he could have maybe had a chance, but obviously got caught up in that last wreck. So Kevin Harvick, top Ford. We'll come back for that one.
Come back for that. We'll come back for our Kevin Harvick love. Let's talk about Hall of Fame bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame bet, the revolutionary parlay optimizer tool. You're going to get hit rates broken down by leg as well as expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rates for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark. Join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame bets. All right, Cody, now let's proceed into our Kevin Harvick love and why that.
Well, I didn't want to talk about this one anyways, so.
Okay,
I was trying to squeeze it in there so everybody would just forget.
I know.
No, Kevin Harvick. Man, this just. Okay, so we took him top Ford plus 450. We took him top 10 plus 140. The number was just great. 19 of 22 times. Rod, throughout the day, 15th to 20th. Not, but it's Kevin Harvick, right? The closer. He's going to get there at the end. You start to see it happen. And then all of a sudden, after that Larson caution, He is in 5th place. He's restarting on like the 3rd row. Actually, he might have restarted on the 2nd row because of where the choose went and everything. Like right there, he's in the mix. Here we go. Not only is he going to cash the top 10 at plus 140, he's got a chance to catch Ryan Blaney here and get the top for us too. So things are looking great. Things are going well, and then things were not going well. That second restart, he just had a really bad restart, lost a bunch of spots, ends up running 10th. So it's like, okay, you're going to cash that. Then at the end, we're looking at it, and it's like, Austin Dillon's 11th, Kevin Harvick's 10th. I'm kind of invested in Kevin Harvick a little heavy, so I probably would have rather him stayed up there. But Austin Dillon obviously comes up and passes him in the last corner there, hits the 5-1. So we'll take that. Top Ford. I mean, Blaney, obviously, it's so hard to predict, right? He was good at the Coke 600, but then I was on him last week, and he was like a fucking ghost. So I don't... Again, same thing with Joey Logano, his teammate. Like, when are these guys going to be good? When are they not going to be good? Joey ends up in 8th. Okay, that's, a pretty decent finish. And then Almirola in 9th. So those were the Fords that finished ahead of him. I don't know. I probably would place these bets again. Definitely the top 10. I mean, the numbers were there. He had done it so many times. Have they just given up? Because, I mean, like, this was the race. Like, it was named after him. He's in the Budweiser car. It's the same scheme he won the championship in. Rodney Children in his family give the command. He had Mike Helton wave the green flag, which Kevin Harvick got to choose. And he just phones it in on the last lap, lets Austin Dillon pass him, finishes 11th. Like, I'm still going to bet on him at Phoenix probably, but I don't know. Maybe he's tanking the number for us, so we get a really big number on him at Phoenix. I'm going to go with that. But anyways, Kevin Harvick, very disappointed in him. McDowell, top Ford, 50-1. Again, it was a long shot. Obviously, we talked about that. Really didn't have a chance all day. 22nd. But if you look at it, some of the guys that were favorite for this, was Brad Keselowski. He ends up in 28th. Could have had a problem, right? That was part of it. Chris Busch was a favorite on this. He ends up just one spot ahead of Michael McDowell. Blaney obviously was kind of the guy that broke it. He ends up second and was challenging for the win. But other than that, like, your top Ford after Blaney was Logano in 8th. So he had gotten he'd gotten some top 10s before here. He looked decent. 50-1 still definitely was worth the sprinkle, but unfortunately did not cash either of these.
No, you did not. And I did not cash this one either. And that was Kyle Larson and William Byron, both inside of the top 3, which, by the way, they were for most of the day. Jesus Christ, man. And I don't know. See, I don't know, though. That's the thing.
But
if Larson hadn't have hit, I don't know if William Byron would have been able to stay in the top 3 because he looked bad at the end of that race.
Yeah, but that's because he had a long run car and it was short. It ended up being short runs. So had it continued to stay green through the cycle, you get a long run to finish that out. I still think this was the better way to bet it, right? We talked about that. If you want to get in on Larson, you get a bigger number here. It throws Byron in with you. If you'd have not bet this and you'd have bet Larson to win anyways, you'd have had a worse number and still not cashed your bet. And Byron just about held up his end of the deal, right? He ends up 4th, so he's at least in the mix. So I think this was the proper way if you wanted to get in on it. Obviously, nailing 2 guys to finish on the podium is just so tough, especially in NASCAR, especially in the Cup Series. But the number was right. And like you said, a majority of the race, this was looking good. Byron took that lead early, and I was like, oh, here we're in for a Byron ass-whooping race that we haven't seen in a little while, but we saw multiple times earlier this season. That didn't quite happen, and then obviously didn't have the speed at the end. But I still think at 6-1, this was a good bet for 2 cars that ended up being 2 of the best handful of cars in this race.
Yeah, and again, it pisses me off because this is another one where you have it nailed, right? I mean, this was the call. This was happening. It's not as if I was saying, oh, I think Larson and Byron are going to be top 3, and they were the 2 shittiest cars on the track. No, this was legit happening. And then,
right.
Larson decides to hit some water jugs, and we're all talking about
it was sand. There was no water. It was just sand.
Sand jugs, water jugs. He hits something. You know why I blocked it out is because I blocked it out. I saw him hit something, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I ripped my computer, and I threw it out, and I was like, I'm done.
Well, next up for me, I had Alex Bowman over Joey Logano, even money, plus 100 on Caesars. This is kind of like the Bijan Robinson thing this weekend in the NFL. They didn't put him on the injury report. They didn't tell us he wasn't going to be playing. Nobody told us Alex Bowman wasn't racing this weekend. Nobody told us Alex Bowman wasn't going to show up. So, was Alex Bowman in this race? I never saw him.
The car was.
Still
I don't know
not
about him.
aware. Was the car? I don't even remember seeing the car. He finished one spot ahead of Corey LaJoy, who's not in a Hendrick Motorsports car. Alex Bowman was just absolute trash this weekend. And Logano, again, toughest guy in the garage to nail. Ends up in 8th, but really comes out and wrecks it. I think it was a practice or qualifying. I can't remember, but he wrecked it. Starts in the back, in the backup car. So it's the same thing as Elliott last week. And you're like, okay, here we go. Bowman just needs to get a decent finish. Not the case. Bowman didn't get a decent finish, and Logano ended up running pretty well. He did make me some money over on DraftKings, so appreciate that because he was obviously the locked-in DFS guy starting 36. You kind of had to play him. And he paid off because obviously finished up in 8th. So I'll take that win, I guess, since I didn't get this one.
Oh, I didn't get this one either. It was Harvick over Gibbs. Gibbs, we knew it was going to be good. We were saying right from the get-go, this wasn't necessarily that we didn't think Gibbs was going to be good. We just thought Harvick was going to be better. Well, that didn't happen. Gibbs finishes 7th. Harvick finishes 11th.
Yeah,
and
man, Gibbs.
Ty Gibbs was not even really that much of a factor for most of the day. I mean,
at the end though, he was up to 4th or 5th there at one of those late runs. He looked pretty decent, but again, this was the numbers. It wasn't that we were going against Gibbs. We thought he was going to have a bad day, obviously, but it just the numbers screamed Kevin Harvick this weekend, and like we talked about a few minutes ago, he just sucked. So I don't know, but shout out to Gibbs again. Oh, next year, Rod. I was looking back at some of the futures I placed. I dropped a lot of money on Ty Gibbs under 1.5 wins this season. As much as I love Ty Gibbs, like a rookie was not winning 2 races. Now there's 2 races left, so I'm not going to cash it just yet because you never know. But that's looking pretty nice. But next year, give me the over because Ty Gibbs is going to be winning some races. I cannot wait.
Well, we'll have to see what that over is set at because the books might get a little bit ambitious.
Yeah, if they're getting burned on 1.5, maybe they'll bring it down a little, huh?
That's true.
Give us a 0.5. Oh, I'll take out a loan for that.
That's hilarious. All right, and then of course outrights. Well, you hit one.
Yeah, so I had Harvick 30-1. Obviously, he sucked. We talked about it. Didn't really have a chance to win this. Denny Hamlin 7-1. Wasn't going to win this with Kyle Larson in the race, but once Kyle went out, looked like Denny might have a chance there. I think he took the lead on the first rest?
Denny Hamlin took it on 222 is when he actually.
Yeah, so I think him and Blaney started on the front row. Yeah. Or him and Byron, maybe. They went into the turn 1, and that's when Bell went around him because I was rooting for Hamlin. I'm like, all right, here we go, Hamlin. And then Bell comes in. I'm like, okay, go, Bell. Like, that's a bigger number. I'm fine with it. Denny, then obviously him and Blaney, boy. I'll be interested to hear, as we're recording this, I've not seen Action's Detrimental drop yet. I'll be interested to see what he has to say about that because they were racing each other rather irritatedly, I guess you could say at the end there. It's even a word it is now. But Denny Hamlin 7-1 again of the favorites with Larson being so short. I think he was in the mix there at the end until the steering broke. So I think it was a good bet. And then Christopher Bell, obviously 15-1 overall. If you got the booster there on Caesars, I said it on the show. He was the guy I circled after that so close last week. A big red circle when he dropped and he was 14-1, 13-1. I was like, oh my God, yes, please sign me up. Then you get 15-1 over on Caesars. But yeah, it was going to be a Christopher Bell week. It felt like not the best car all day. Didn't expect him to be. Expected him to be in position at the end if something happens to Kyle Larson. I bet if you go back and check the tape, that's probably exactly what I said, and that's exactly what happened. So ends up being a great day with cash in. Christopher Bell 15-1.
Well, I had William Byron at 8-1. That one should have been a good one as well. He was a fast car. He was one of the fast cars. Like Cody said, he had a long run car. I don't know what we would have seen if it would have went long completely. Obviously, he did give up the lead late there, and that's when I threw my computer again. Poor thing, was broken for most of the day. And then, of course, Cody tossed in the Byron and Max to win. Well, Max ended up holding up his end of the bargain, but William Byron did not. So, yeah, I mean, we move on. I'm ready to move on to the next race because I know we're stoked as a show that Christopher Bell, but I said it in the Discord. I'm just tired of finishing second to Cody. Like I'm ready to hurry up and
how'd that Ross Chastain Underdog? If you missed the Underdog show, shame on you, first of all. But second of all, we were on opposite sides of Ross Chastain. You were looking again, another one you looked pretty right most of the day. Then as soon as he wrecked, I think I gave a little ha to you in the Discord because I thought it was funny that I lucked out on him getting caught up in one of those wrecks. But just a rough shake for you this week. But
Yes.
that's all right. We got Martinsville next week, and on to Martinsville, as Bill Belichick would say.
Yeah, well, let's move on to the Xfinity race, shall we? That'll be what we move on to, where once again, okay, this is where you get to go rah 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 because you had the best car all day, and it all right, Cody. It was, of course, like we said, the Xfinity race. Some fun because Junior was in this one, and we got to watch Junior have some fun. Actually, we got to watch Junior finish this race. Which was a actual great thing to see. Contender Boats 250. Sam Mayer, his car gets into victory lane. Junior's car does. So he's pretty happy about that as well. But Sam Mayer, you said it in the Discord, and I think we've said it already. This is a name we're going to be talking about a lot next week. And I, obviously we'll get to him in a second because I definitely was on him. But
if you would have told me going into the season, Rod, there was a JRM driver that was going to win 4 races this season, Sam Mayer would have been my 4th guess. Possibly would have said Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes back full-time in the 88, and Sam Mayer would have been my 5th guess. Would not have been Sam Mayer. Holy shit. Now he's done it on an oval. Watch out next season. He is going to be that. It's, we had the Noah Gragson along with Allgaier. This year it's been Allgaier and maybe Barry, but Mayer really. And next year it's really going to be the Mayer and Allgaier show over there at JRM, I think. And then you bring in Sammy Smith, who shows a lot of speed, just needs to hone it in. And Brandon Jones comes back for next season. They're going to be loaded up again. But, yeah, man, Sam Mayer, absolutely impressive. And again, even though he won his way into this round, it looked like he was probably going to have to win in this round just because his point situation was not great. Now he wins. Now he is in. And again, locked into the championship 4. He gets a chance to go battle for a title.
He sure does. But so we had a card each on this one. Let's start laying out the bets for this race.
Yeah, started with Brandon Jones plus 325 on the top 5. Ends up in 8th. Kind of about the best he ran all day. I really was not really up there throughout the day more than that. He kind of popped up there at the end. Decent finish, right? And you kind of look and we'd gone through, some of the favorites and how we didn't really think they were going to be top 5 guys. You figured John Hunter probably was. You figured Barry wasn't going to be, wasn't. You figured Allgaier wasn't going to be, wasn't. We kind of went through some of them and it was like, okay, some of these guys have really struggled here. It's going to open up some different names to finish in the top 5. Was hoping Jones would be one of them. Unfortunately wasn't. Again, 8th place at a guy that was plus 325. I don't know. I guess it's close enough, but no cigar on this one.
How about 6th place for a guy that was 4-1 to finish top 5?
Oh, I was so happy when I saw this. I don't like to root against your bets, Rod, but in this case, I do. And when I saw that he finished 1 spot out of cashing this, that's a very, I'll say his name because it's in a derogatory way. It's a very Daniel Hemrick thing to do. It's to finish 1 spot out of making you money. It's either that or he wrecks all of your outrights that are all going to hit in one foul swoop. So fuck that guy.
Well, and it was. I mean, Daniel Hemrick, top 5 finish at 4-1. Daniel Hemrick finishes 6th. I'm still going to make that bet because Daniel Hemrick was one of the better cars in this at the whole time. And he wasn't necessarily a top 5 car all day. In fact, he finishes stage 2 and stage 1, both in 10th place, but he fought his way up. And were it not for, I don't know, a couple of crazy, I mean, I was rooting for Junior to get in the top 5 at the expense of Hemrick. But at the same time, it was like, if Hemrick would have gotten in the top 5 instead of Junior, it would have been a bigger number. So you're kind of mixed bag.
Same dilemma I had over in the Cup Series for the top 10.
Exactly. See, so I'm just saying, like, it was a dilemma, but he didn't do it. So I'm not gonna shy away from it again if it happens, because I still think it was
4-1 to finish 1 spot outside of cashing. I mean, it really was a good bet. As much
if
as
it wasn't Daniel Hemrick, we would have been a lot more.
You'd have been like, okay, Dan, this guy was almost. If it had been, Brandon Jones, you'd been like, great, awesome. Well, because it's Daniel Hemrick screwing you, it makes it feel worse. But Rod, do you remember when I said earlier in this show, if you think a guy can win the race, you've got to look at the top 5. You've got to look at the top 3 numbers. And on both of our next bets, that's exactly what we did. and we were correct with these. Riley Herbst, top 5, plus 275. He's coming off of winning last weekend. The top 5 we thought was going to be a little weaker than the normal mile and a half this week. He's off of all that momentum. We thought Custer, his teammate, was going to be the best car in the field. No surprise, Custer, his teammate, was the best car in the field. It was a little late coming on for Herbst. 2 more laps, maybe. He'd have got Mayer and cashed a bigger bet for us. But I will take this. He does finish in the top 5, plus 275. And then had him outright 16-1 as well, which for a guy that finishes second, 16-1, you're always going to take that. But that's why you look at these top 5 and top 3 numbers, because as much as it hurt to not have them 16-1, still got to cash that plus 275. And I think that this has got to be the way you got to continue. If you think a guy, especially at a little bit longer odds, can win a race, you've got to look at their top 3 or top 5 number or top 10 number, depending, obviously we don't get that much in Xfinity, but if you can get that plus money number, you've got to take it, because it gives you that insurance in case they don't hit for the outright, and you can double dip like we did with Bell over in the Cup Series. So again, I think that's the way to go. Herbst cashes top 5, plus 275. Might be a guy to watch out for next year as well.
It's definitely going to be a guy you have to watch out for next year. If
he takes a leap like he did last year to this year, again next year, holy shit, you really got to watch out.
Yeah, we're talking a big championship contender, because it's still a good car, still a fast driver. So I like that. Well, we did this with the next driver too, Sam Mayer. Took him as a top 5 at plus 250. Took him as a top 3 at plus 550. I got to go back and listen. I don't know why I didn't just ladder him all the way up to the top. I think I just felt like it was not worth the risk to take it.
I'm more pissed that I had these bets written down and I chose not to take them. And then you did it, and I looked at Sam Mayer. I went back through his history at the track, and I was like, I kind of like just Brandon Jones a little more. And I went with Brandon Jones. That was a big mistake. But shout out to you for doing it, because
I know
you should have got a bigger ladder. You should have climbed all the way to the top, but that's okay.
I don't know why. I'm gonna go back and listen to exactly why I talked myself out of not convincing that he was an outright. I really think, again, like I said, I just didn't trust him to win the race, but I definitely thought he was going to be within the top 3. So turns out I was right.
Yeah, you nailed it. And then, you hit the top 3 and the top 5. Great numbers. Top 3 plus 550. Again, the favorites in this race were not even plus 550. So had he not even won this race, you still cash a bet bigger than that. That's why it's not just about betting outrights in racing. You've got to go big picture. Look at all these other ones. Oh, such heartbreak on this one. I had Dale Jr. to win Group C over on Caesars, plus 270. Allgaier, Barry, Hill. Allgaier was not going to be good. I told you that. Wasn't good. He finishes 15th. Barry was not going to be good. Wasn't good. Ends up wrecked out. Finishes in 32nd. Austin Hill gets Jr. by 1 spot. Damn it. So close to cashing this one. Unfortunately, didn't, but another good run by Dale Jr. Finishes in 5th place. Looked great in both of his outings this year, obviously. Didn't get the result at Bristol because of the fire, but you had some bets on him as well and did cash.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did have the first junior top 5 plus 200. And honestly, it was really just about him being able to rip that wall there at the end. He definitely, and I don't like using that term because everybody's using it, but he did. I mean, that's what he did. He ripped that wall. He was right up against it for the most part and just kind of managed his way through into a top 5 finish. I don't think he was going to have that all day long. He didn't even, I mean, he was somewhere in the mix, but he was never truly a top 5 car in either stage. He just sort of worked his way up and had that long run. They fixed it enough to get him. Pit stops were good enough to get him where he needed to be. So yeah, I mean, shout out to the crew. They managed to get him where he needed to be.
I'll be interested to hear his thoughts on taking Josh Berry out because he kind of wrecked Josh Berry, which was great for some of the bets against him that we had. But yeah, I don't think it was Junior's fault again. I think it was just miscommunication. Talked about that on the broadcast. He doesn't get in these cars a lot, not working with the spotter much. And yeah, unfortunate for him that he took his own car out, but shit happens. Berry's moving on to Ford next year anyways. So speaking of 2 of Junior's cars next year anyways, Brandon Jones, Sammy Smith had them in a head-to-head, took Brandon Jones. Again, it was just 2 guys you can't really trust. Which one do you trust a little more? For me, it was Brandon Jones. Finished in back-to-back spots, luckily in the right direction. Jones 8th, Sammy Smith in 9th. So this one did cash minus 115 over on Caesars. again, neither one was great on the day. Sammy definitely showed some speed, started 5th, showed speed early, which he does a lot because he's in one of the fastest cars, but results just aren't always there. Ends up with 9th place. Again, once we get a season or two into Sammy Smith, I'm excited to see what happens. I think there's a lot of talent there. Just needs to hone in some of the mistakes. But yeah, in this battle of future teammates and former teammates, because they were teammates at JGR last year, Brandon Jones did win and cashed the over for us.
Well, this next one kind of took itself out in its own little area and pocket. This was Chandler Smith over Sheldon Creed. And it was a close battle. Actually, Chandler had climbed his way up over Creed because Creed started 9th, Chandler started 12th. But then long about lap 98, Brett Moffitt, who you will never hear me say his name again, ended up taking both of these cars and getting into both of these cars. So it's funny because we always talk about these head-to-heads. These drivers end up close to each other. Well, these guys ended up in the same accident. Unfortunately, Chandler couldn't continue. Sheldon could. Could have been the other way around, and we could have cashed this bet. So just bad luck. Another wrong place, wrong time for a head-to-head. So screw you, Brett Moffitt. I'm done.
But yeah, Chandler was running really good throughout this race, and looked good, was kind of up there competing. So unfortunate that it didn't cash out for you. Couldn't trust Sheldon Creed, which you kind of knew. And Chandler was just wrong spot, wrong time. Cole Custer, top 3, -105. Oh, this is the easiest bet of the weekend, Rod. Custer just absolutely dominates the whole entire race, runs away with it until the tire blows and he hits the wall, and this bet does not cash.
That's so horrible too, because he really, I mean, poor guy. You just heard it on the radio, and then the pit crew didn't do him any good either, right? I mean, he had a problem on pit row too. I think is what ended up happening.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it had some issue, and then obviously the tire just gave up, and yeah, it's too bad. And I think he got into the wall, I think is why the tire went out, but
he did. He touched the wall
because he'd been just the best car. I mean, he dominated. He led 118 laps, 114 laps, something like that, and was well on his way to winning. Would have easily cashed this top 3, which unfortunately he did not.
He would have as well. All right, winning car number over 17.5. One is lower than 17.5. Therefore, that did not cash. So definitely
second, third, fourth, fifth, all over this number.
It's all right.
Two more laps. Riley Herbst would have got him.
I'm still not done with him. I still think I'm good, but again, this race kind of had a wonky little lull to it. So I'll take it again, but whatever. This time it didn't cash.
Yep. Then outrights, Custer 4-1. Obviously, I think this was the right bet. He was the best car. He would have easily won this. Talked about John Hunter. He was good. We knew he would be good, but we didn't think he would dominate like he had at other mile and a halves. He didn't. He ends up in 3rd. Felt like a Custer day. Was a Custer day. Obviously gets into the wall, causes the tire issue. Herbst 16-1. Ends up 2nd place at the end of the day. 2 more laps. Might have cashed this one. Would have been pretty nice. Brandon Jones 20-1. The number was good. Ends up in 8th. Didn't really have a chance to win this, so that was unfortunate. And then I co-signed yours, which I think was still a good bet.
Yeah, I still think Junior would have, especially at 30-1 earlier in the week, would have been fine. But oh well. I mean, it was. He finished 5th, and he was still 14-1. So when you got him later on, I don't think that was a bad bet. But obviously, he didn't do it. So oh well. All right, truck race. Let's move on to the Baptist Health Cancer Care 200. Wow, this one was full of action, up and down. Just could not. I mean, yeah, there was so much going on in this race. It was a frustrating race from a handicap standpoint, but in the end, it's all good because Cody cashes yet another outright winner, and we all go home happy. But
Carson Hocevar, baby, gets it done, punches his ticket. And yeah, this was it for the trucks as far as getting to the Final Four. So it's set. Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, Ben Rhodes, Grant Enfinger, obviously Zane Smith, Ty Majeski, the notable guys that did not make it. We'll talk about them. First up for me, Carson Hocevar, podium finish, +125. Rod, if I've said it once today, I've said it twice today. If you like somebody to win the race, also take them top 3, top 5, top 10, wherever you're getting value. For Hocevar, it was to get on the podium, +125. He obviously wins the race, and so this one cashes.
It sure does. I had Chase Purdy as a top 5 car. He finished top 10. I would have much rather gotten this at top 10 than top 5. But at 5-1, not necessarily the type of finish we're looking for. He was not necessarily even running around the top of the charts past maybe 10th place all day long. So just a little frustrating. It wasn't necessarily a type of race I expected out of Purdy. He did finish 9th place in the end of stage 1. But yeah, just not an overall great day for a top 5 finish for Purdy.
What's that? What? Breaking news. Christian Eckes penalty. Wait a minute. He just got penalized again. I had him for a top. Oh, he's another pit penalty for Christian Eckes. And one more time. He's going to go to the back. Okay. So that was pretty much the Eckes day. I had him top 5 plus 100. Did we ever even really get to see it? I mean, I don't know. He finished 6th on stage 1, so he'd have probably been there, but fuck, man, he just I think he got penalized 3 or 4 times during that race. Every time you look up, Christian Eckes going to the back. These short truck races, you can't keep getting fucking penalties. Just killed his day. It really didn't get a chance to even see what he could have maybe done.
No, and maybe he changed his number to 38 or something like that, because that's what you were.
Yeah, they told him to study Zane Smith, and he studied the wrong part, not the championship winning part, the getting penalties and going to the back part.
Exactly. All right. So can I be upset about this one?
You can. Oh, okay, man.
Because Stuart Friesen, top 5 at plus 400. Stuart Friesen comes in 6th. And in fact,
what's even worse than that is the guy who finished ahead of him in 5th.
I know. The guy
Bailey Curry.
Bailey Curry. I could not. I was like, what the hell are we doing, Bailey Curry? The 41 truck finish ahead of the 52. So heartbreaking. Stuart Friesen right there in the mix all day long. He was a 4th place truck at the end of stage 2. He was inside of the top 5 at the end of stage 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So he was there. He was there all day long and just finished 1 spot outside of cashing this.
Yeah, I mean, again, the dirt guy thing, that's what we lean into with Bell. That's what you're supposed to lean into on this track. It should have lined up perfectly. As much as he's not shown up lately this season, he did show up. And, man, you were so close to cashing it. I had Sanchez top 5, Bain top 5. Neither of these guys really. I mean, Sanchez started on the pole, which, again, I had met. That was part of the handicap, was he's going to start good. He starts good every time we go to a mile and a half, and he started good a bunch of places in a row, but ends up in 17th. And then Bain ended up in 14th, which actually wasn't too bad. Considering he started 32nd, he was caught up in an incident at one point. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have placed the Bain one. He just doesn't have a ton of truck experience, I guess. I thought he'd done so well in the Xfinity car when he's jumped over there. Maybe he'd have a chance. And again, looking at the top 5, pretty chalky in the top 4, but then you get a Bailey Curry in the top 5, which is why we're kind of taking these shots. Unfortunately, just didn't hit any shots, but we hit them in the other series. So that's why you take them. Didn't pan out this time, unfortunately.
It did not. Speaking of not panning out, I took Jake Garcia over Raja Caruth. Hey, shout out to Raja Caruth, man. A solid top 10 finish, 8th place after starting 13th. He had a great truck all day long. He was in the mix. He was running well. Garcia, I mean, he was okay as well, but he started where he finished, or he finished where he started rather, in 15th. So kind of just rolling around here and there. It wasn't necessarily a strong day for Garcia, but it was a really strong day for Caruth. I may end up having to take more of a notice when Caruth is out there, because he's starting to show something.
Yeah, he's showing speed all season, but just he wasn't getting the finishes, which we've had plenty of those guys, right? They show speed, but the finishes aren't there. But yeah, he looked really good. So unfortunate for you, Rod. Welcome to Fade Ty Majeski portion of the recap show. We cashed not 1, not 2, but 3 head-to-heads against Ty Majeski. All of them at plus money. Fade Ty Majeski. They cheated. It hasn't been good since they cheated. It obviously deflated their chances at a championship after getting caught cheating, deflating the tires. I had Hocevar over and plus 145. This was easy. Obviously, Hocevar wins. Had Corey Heim over him, plus 105. Heim ends up in third place. Majeski finished ninth. Not like he had a horrible day, but I'm trying to remember what happened. Something happened to him late where he maybe just got into the wall or something, and I was rejoicing very loudly, but he was okay throughout the day, right? He starts in fourth. That's pretty decent. And he was second in stage one and fifth in stage two. So he kind of just hung around, but never the best truck. He had won this race the previous season, but again, the wind was out of their sails. The air was out of their tire, however you want to phrase it. It just wasn't going to happen for him. And then you also had Zane Smith over him, plus 125. And this one, did this one?
So it cashed. Here's the thing, right? So Zane
that's
finished
right.
runner up, but he got disqualified at the end.
How did I forget about it? I'm like, wait a minute, we did cash all these. I'm looking. I completely forgot about that. Zane Smith did get disqualified.
So Zane was the runner up, but he ended up getting disqualified after the race, and that Zane Smith was over Majeski. And of course, I had Zane to win this race. I'll just get there now because we're talking about it. But yeah, I had Zane at 5-1 to win this race.
What was the deal with the windshield? Like, it was so obvious, and someone pointed out in our Discord, and after they said something, I'm looking, I'm like, God, it is like just completely deformed. Like, they weren't even trying to hide it like Majeski was. They just flat out trying to cheat. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
In retrospect, I'm glad that at least he didn't win the race, and so it had some big controversy where they disqualify them, because that would have messed. It didn't affect the points. It didn't affect who made it the championship for, which was great. But yeah, so again, right call, because he beat him. Would he have beat him if he wasn't cheating? Probably, but yeah. Oh well. So I don't know.
Well, and then I had the winning truck number between 20 and 49. And that was
ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. See, I told you I'm not done with them yet, but I told you that Hocevar was going to be, or Zane Smith. And guess what? 1-2.
1-2. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this was a great call by you again, and a really good number at plus 145. The books were really leaning into the Majeski angle for whatever reason. I know he had won here last year, but glad we were on the other side of that. I went short on this card for the winners. I said it was going to be a favorite. The long shots were not winning this weekend. We're down to the nitty gritty. It was going to be favorites that win this race. Had Heim at plus 350. But the one I really loved, Carson Hocevar, plus 600. Hocevar ends up capturing it. Heim ends up third. So again, these guys were both right there. Rhodes ends up in second. Obviously, Zane Smith was originally second. Enfingers up there. Curry in fifth was kind of your first long shot winner as far as odds go, and he really didn't have a chance to win this race. So I think us just kind of sticking to the favorites here was the right call. Fading Majeski was the right call. And obviously Carson Hocevar brought it home for us. So, man, what a solid weekend. We cashed a lot of bets. We made a lot of money. Only got 2 weekends of NASCAR racing left. I'm extremely sad about this, but that's all right. Got to make the most of it. We made the most out of this weekend. Let's go make the most out of Martinsville next week.
Indeed. Yeah. And for us to have 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 4 outrights in the top 4, I mean, that'll tell you that.
What else can you, again, and they were all more favorites, right? So, but you pick and choose your spots to do that. This was the place to pick and choose it, and it worked out.
It worked out indeed. To Martinsville we go. We're going to start again tomorrow, building the cards for you for the Cup race, and then build them all out. Xfinity as well. Of course, that special Underdog episode and DFS. So get your week set with us as we get our cards set for you. Cody, as we launch our way into the week, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yep. Follow me on X at @Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my work there. Check out the YouTube page. Didn't go live for this one. We had some time constraints, but should be live for some of the pick shows this week. So make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you click that bell. Get the alerts. You can chime in as well. Let's go make some money in Martinsville.
Indeed. I'm on X at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on. Make sure you find out what's going on fast money-wise and back road-wise as well, and in between media. We're going to be back tomorrow with more. So until then, let's go racing and let it ride.